The 1990s were a cultural supernova, a blur of flannel shirts, screaming guitars, boy band hysteria, and MTV-fueled mayhem. But behind the chart toppers and TRL countdowns, the decade's music scene was steeped in chaos. Grunge, metal, and pop didn't just dominate the airwaves, they set the tabloids ablaze, and in doing so, reshaped the very mythology of modern fame. At the heart of the decade's darkest chapter was the tragic death of Kurt Cobain, the reluctant leader of Nirvana and the voice of a generation. With Nevermind, Cobain helped launch grunge into the mainstream, delivering raw, angst-ridden anthems that captured the alienation of the youth. But his battles with addiction, depression, and an intrusive media spotlight became tragically public. When he died by suicide in April 1994, the loss rocked the world. And yet his death birthed conspiracy theories that never fully faded, many implicating his wife, Courtney Love. Officially ruled a suicide, Cobain's final days remain shrouded in speculation, casting a long shadow over the decade. Meanwhile, in the metal world, the excesses of the 80s hadn't disappeared. They'd simply evolved. Bands like Metallica, Megadeth, and Guns N' Roses continued to dominate, but it was Pantera that embodied the pure fury of 90s metal. In 1996, frontman Phil Anselmo suffered a near-fatal heroin overdose just hours after a show in Dallas. The incident exposed deep divisions within the band and thrust the topic of addiction into the center of the metal scene's narrative. The band would never fully recover from the cracks that followed. No scandal list would be complete without Marilyn Manson, whose 1996 album Antichrist Superstar lit a cultural firestorm. With his shock rock aesthetic, satanic symbolism, and dystopian lyrics, Manson became a favorite scapegoat for everything from moral collapse to school violence. Concerts were picketed, politicians railed against him, and parents panicked. But for Manson, controversy was currency, and he spent it lavishly. While it catapulted him to stardom, it also foreshadowed more sinister allegations that would surface decades later. Even the polished world of pop was anything but innocent. Madonna, ever the provocateur, shattered expectations with the release of her 1992 sex book and the accompanying album Erotica. The graphic imagery and unapologetic themes sparked global backlash, but also cemented Madonna's role as pop's most fearless boundary pusher. She didn't just stir the pot, she redefined the recipe for controversy. Then came the teen pop explosion of the late 90s. Britney Spears, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, a candy-coated empire that masked darker truths. Britney's debut Baby One More Time made her a household name overnight, but the pressure cooker of fame, image control, and relentless scrutiny began to show. Rumors swirled about her romance with Justin Timberlake, her label's grip on her persona, and the mental toll of constant visibility. Her eventual breakdown in the 2000s was already simmering beneath the glittery surface of late 90s pop stardom. Meanwhile, in the alternative scene, even indie darlings weren't immune to collapse. Rivers Cuomo of Weezer, reeling from the commercial failure of Pinkerton in 1996, withdrew from fame, citing depression and body image struggles. The album would later be hailed as a masterpiece. But its initial rejection showed how even deeply personal art could be devoured and discarded by the industry machine. In retrospect, the 1990s were a decade of immense artistic innovation, but often at great personal cost. Grunge wore its pain on its sleeve. Metal masked its trauma in rage. Pop danced through pressure and manipulation, and all of it was amplified by a media industry obsessed with exposure, scandal, and spectacle. The decade's scandals weren't just gossip. They were a mirror reflecting an industry in upheaval. The collision of commerce, creativity, and celebrity reached a fever pitch, and by the time the millennium hit, the fallout had forever changed how we view artists, fame, and the fragile line between expression and exploitation. The music of the 90s still echoes today, but so do the warning signs.